Straight ahead is our Tip of the Week segment, and this is where we show you a trick or tip on how to take advantage of your Android device. And now for this episode's Tip of the Week, here's your Tip of the Week.
And we close this week with a Tip of the Week. And I show you a problem you might have if you're a Xiaomi user when entering three-finger symbols with any Braille keyboard. If you have upgraded from MIUI to HyperOS, which is Xiaomi's implementation of Android 14 on some devices. Hello everyone, I'm Ed Green and I'm here today to tell you about a problem that Xiaomi users might experience when they upgrade to HyperOS, which is Xiaomi's implementation of Android 14 on some phones. Now, Xiaomi users already using MIUI 13, which was Android 12, or 14, which was Android 13, may recall that if they used a Braille keyboard, three-finger combinations like the letter L, dots 456, which precede certain other symbols to make, for instance, a slash, forward slash character, wouldn't be able to use those three-finger gestures by default. They'd first have to go into settings, general settings, gesture shortcuts, and turn off some system gestures which relied on three fingers, a three-finger swipe down and a three-finger press and hold, which related to taking different sorts of screenshots. Once they'd done that, the three fingers in Braille keyboards would work as envisaged. Unfortunately, following the upgrade to HyperOS, I'm on 1.0.1.0, turning off those three-finger gestures relating to screenshots in Xiaomi's system settings does not solve the problem. The three-finger gestures will not work on the Braille keyboard at all, either TalkBack Braille keyboard, Advanced Braille keyboard, and I'm assuming Soft Braille keyboard if anybody is still using that. Interestingly, three-finger gestures in TalkBack generally work as envisaged, including ones which are direct conflicts, and that's regardless of whether they are turned on or off in Xiaomi's additional settings gesture shortcuts. So a three-finger tap and hold will bring up search, a three-finger single tap will bring up the TalkBack menu. The problem is only, from our perspective anyway, in the Braille keyboard. There are two bits of promising news. The first is we are not the only ones affected. Gamers are complaining that some of their gestures aren't working either, and it's not great that anyone else is having a problem, obviously. What it does mean, though, is that with any luck, Xiaomi will seek to fix this fairly quickly. The second piece of good news is that there is a workaround. It's not a great workaround, but it does tend to work. What you have to do is perform the gestures in two stages. So I use my phone in screen away mode just for clarity. So when I want to type the letter L, what I do now is I press dots 2 and 3. I wait to feel the vibration to tell me that they have registered on the keyboard. This is using TalkBack Braille keyboard. And keeping those two fingers still held down, I add dot 1. So dots 2 and 3, wait for the vibration, keep them held, add dot 1. You may well find that other two-part combinations work, so you might start with dots 1 and 2, add dot 3, so on and so forth. Starting with the lower symbols, for me anyway, seems to be the most reliable way of getting this to happen. I suppose you might conceptually, thinking about it, it's a little bit like holding down a shift key on a physical keyboard and adding a letter. Obviously, it's not an exact analogy because there are no buttons and we're not holding down a shift key. But, you're holding down something and pressing something else while keeping the first thing held down. That's the takeaway concept. What I'll also say is that the Braille keyboards, both for Advanced Braille keyboard and TalkBack Braille keyboard are a much less smooth experience. They always seem to be pretty forgiving on all my phones and on all my previous versions of MIUI, but you seem to have to now be much more precise when entering characters than you did previously. It's almost as though the screen real estate has shrunk. I don't think that can be quite right, though, because it doesn't necessarily seem to be that you have to be in exactly the same place each time. It's just that you need to be exact each time. So before you get started, you might either want to recalibrate or just orient yourself by typing a couple of test letters. I've particularly found with the right hand, as I say, I use screen away mode, that my hand needs to be higher than it used to be. Quite why, I'm not sure. But once you've kind of got it working and you're in your rhythm, it should be all right. Like I say, not great, but all right. And if you find yourself particularly uncomfortable typing on a QWERTY keyboard interface like Gboard, then you might want to persist with this and work it until there's a fix. Some of the other three-finger gestures in the TalkBack Braille keyboard are very difficult to perform now as well. So swiping down with three fingers to switch to the next keyboard, swiping up with three fingers to bring up the more options, those are tricky, much harder than typing the letter L, and there doesn't seem to be a fail-safe way. Sometimes I have to swipe down with three fingers 6 or 7 times before it will take. Similarly, swiping up with three fingers as well. So those are more difficult, but again, with a great deal of persistence, doable. I have reported this to both Xiaomi and Google Disability Support. I suspect it is Xiaomi's to fix, but I find it interesting that TalkBack's other three-finger gestures are being captured by TalkBack and work as intended. So I have flagged it to Google in the event that they're able to do something, or indeed to pick it up with Xiaomi. So that is the issue, folks. That is the workaround. I hope it's helpful. John, I'm not sure if OnePlus have this screenshot thing, the three-finger gestures. They didn't used to, but they might well have now. So it'd be interesting to know if the OnePlus 12 has that issue. I think you said Asus did have that implementation, didn't they? But turning off those gestures did resolve the Braille keyboard conflict. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And even after it came with Android 13, even after upgrading to Android 14, I was still able to, turn it off from within the advanced settings. So yeah, that's definitely something I'm going to be keeping an eye out when I get this OnePlus phone set up.
Yeah, as I say, it may or may not have the three-finger screenshot thing. It didn't used to, but I could well believe it might do by now, because mine was 4 iterations ago, and they've grown closer to their sister brands.
The OnePlus did have that gesture when they were in the Oxygen OS, when the OnePlus 11 was out, and even the OnePlus 10, I think. But now I don't know if they have it or no. But the OnePlus did have that in the later parts of Oxygen OS.
Yeah, the 8 didn't, but then obviously it moved closer, didn't it? It's as I say, it's stable brands, and they seem to borrow the same fork. So it'd be interesting to know if it may well still be there.